Hello and welcome to a new edition of Design for the Times. I'm your host, Richard Christopher Scuderi. I could say that I'm happy about my guests in studio, but truthfully, I am giddy about my guests in the studio. With me today are two very talented, very wonderful people that created a concept in New Jersey, a restaurant and piano bar that I think is exceptional, and I really am glad to have them in studio. And their names are Eilghettey. Hello, welcome.
Thanks for having us.
And Lisa Graffas.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming to our show. Today's show is all about decorating a restaurant, a commercial space. About 30% of my work these days, and many designers, happens to be commercial spaces. Restaurants in particular are awfully fun to do. You get to create the best, the most unusual surfaces. And these days the trends are going a little bit towards the industrial look, lots of grays and blacks and metals and wonderful pendants. And that's some of the things that we did at Mo's Bistro and Piano Bar. Mo is an entrepreneur. He was born in Egypt, right?
That's correct, yes.
And he has a really very interesting story. So before we start into your background, let's tell everybody where Mo's Bistro and Piano Bar is located.
It's located at 535 Central Avenue, inside the Best Western Plus Mary Hill Hotel.
Right, you're inside a hotel.
Yes, you can either enter from the lobby or there's an outside entrance.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we're located, in New Providence.
And where is your phone number?
908-840-4540.
And is there a website?
Yes, you go to mosbistroandbar.com.
Sure. And you're on Open Table, right?
Yes, that's correct. You can make reservations on Open Table, or you can call us at our number and make your reservation through there.
And you're also open 7 days, correct?
Yes, that's correct, Monday through
Wow.
Sunday.
So you sleep at traffic lights, right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
So I want to start with Mo, and I've happened to know Mo for a very long period of time, but there's a real backstory because what Mo does is very interesting. You can get a steak, you can get a hamburger, but there's a wonderful Mediterranean influence. And I think people have become more sophisticated with food. I don't know that everybody knows what Mediterranean is. I think there might be an interpretation of different people of what Mediterranean is because it embodies other cultures, right? Just other than
Yes.
just the Egyptians. So tell us about your start. You grew up in Egypt. When did you sort of have a love for food? Is it something that developed later did you see your mom cook? What made you think that food was what you wanted to do?
Well, at age 14, pretty much, I worked in a hotel near my house.
Wow, okay.
And for the summertime, and it was fun, and it was very exciting. So every summer I would go back, and they liked me very much, so they saved my job every summer. So I would go, and this is how the love for the business has started in a five-star resort, and I would do it every summer, and every summer they put me in a different part of the kitchen.
Right.
Starting with dishwashing, and then you
The
get
ground
better,
up, right?
And then yes, and
Yeah.
then you get better and better, and
Uh-huh.
right after that, I started to develop a taste for the hotel life and the restaurant business, and this is how I got started. Yes.
So I would say, or having worked in other restaurants, I think restaurateur is not everybody, right? Because to be a restaurateur, you have to be a host constantly. It's kind of like this. You have to be up, but we do this, for half an hour and then I'm offset. You guys do this all the time,
Right.
every day, 24/7. It's like being a doctor that's on call, right? So I think you have to really love what you do. You have to have a certain personality. You have to have the physical strength to work every single day, right? And you have to be up and positive. And if I could say, you're a fantastic host.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's a tough business, as
Sure.
you know, and there is not such a thing that is called off day. You have to
Right.
bring your A game on all the time, and you deal with the daily life and the staff and the guest and a lot of unexpected things. Sometimes you're busy, and then in the heat of the battle, a walk-in doesn't work,
Happens, sure.
or it never happens when you're quiet. It happens when you're busy, So you always have to be positive and make the best out of it, and because you also lead by example. As soon as you start to have a temper, or you start to yell and scream, and then you set the tone for everyone, and I don't
Sure.
like that. I like to be always happy and bubbly and laugh and joke and get the day done to the best way we can.
A little backstory. I told Mo, no bad jokes. We can't do any bad jokes. So I know he's dying to do a bad joke, but that's part of it. You know, to me, dining is really an experience. There's the culinary experience. There's the delicious food and so on. But also when you go out to a nice restaurant, and let's be clear, you can go there and just have a burger at the bar and have a lot of fun. But are you going to a nice restaurant like that? It's the experience, right? It's the beauty of the room. It's how somebody makes you feel. It's sort of a whole experience. And I think you guys are very good at that. I will say that I eat out a lot, and most of my experiences are not good. Haven't you heard that from other people when they go to other restaurants? They'll say, wow, I found something here. I feel welcome. You know what I mean?
Yes. They
Many
do say
restaurants
that.
I go to, not good service, not consistent, where your food is very consistent. I could have baba ganoush one day, and I could have it 6 weeks later. Consistency, quality. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I could have a steak with you or a veal chop. Always consistent, delicious. I don't see a lot of consistency in restaurants, both in the service and in the food.
Well, it's the toughest thing to achieve, consistency in restaurants,
Sure.
because you deal with different variances and things that make things always different. But it starts with good ethics in the kitchen and good routine, and this is how you sustain consistency. Also, keeping the same vendors is part of it. Keeping the same staff is also part of it, that they do things like as a routine.
Sure. And they get better and better at it.
They
I
get
would
better
imagine.
and better at it, and as well it starts by setting good ethics in the kitchen, that you follow the basics 1, 2, 3, and that will result into consistencies.
Sure.
And
Yep.
that's very important. That's
Yep.
one of the toughest aspects to keep consistency in restaurants. A lot of times you go to a place and you like a certain thing very much, you go back to order it, and it's totally and utterly different. Is because either they did not follow the ethics, or the staff was not paying attention to the details,
Sure.
or the chef just decided to use ingredient B instead of ingredient A, and
Right.
that's how it goes.
And people do discern that, don't they? They do discern if something they've savored to come is different. I think they're savvy in that way. I will add, because I know personally, having eaten there many times, you really buy, Mo, the best ingredients, the best chicken breast, the best bread, purveyors that are often more expensive, but you really buy the best ingredients.
Well, it's a constant battle to buy the best ingredients, and if you do so, it translates. That means you just like buying. The base is solid, so
Sure.
that means you can build on that. If
Right.
if the base is wobbly, then you will never. That's why we put emphasis on buying the best food from our vendors,
Sure.
and the guest knows that.
Yeah.
The client knows that we're not cutting corners, and that helps you establishing your name, and also it helps you establish that consistency issue that we're talking about.
Sure.
Yes.
Let's transition a little bit about your story, though, because I don't even know this myself. When did you leave Egypt and come to America to work and live?
I turned 24 in the States. That's like 5 years ago.
You know what he's doing? He's sort of selecting what he's going to say, and I'm watching him do it over on television.
No, I
So-
turned 24
Okay.
in the United States of America, and
Okay.
I came fresh from Europe, from culinary schools in Europe.
Wonderful.
And after I actually had another course in Egypt in the beginning,
Uh-huh.
French Culinary in Egypt Institute, and then I came to the States at age 23. I turned 24 in the States, yes.
Now, so once you got to the States, were you back and forth to Egypt, or did you start working in restaurants or food here?
Well, it's the only thing I know, so I
Okay.
worked in restaurants right away. I took my resume to restaurants, and I started to work in restaurants right away.
Did you land in the New York tri-state area, or were you in other parts of the country in restaurants?
No, I actually moved first to San Francisco. I
Okay.
landed in New York, yes, but I had some friends in San Francisco, and I ended up working in San Francisco for a good year and a half almost, and then all my real good friends were on the East Coast, so I decided to go back to the East Coast, and I never went back west again, you know. So
But you know what, San Francisco, I think, is a wonderful experience
Yes.
because it's a very sophisticated food city,
yes,
don't you think?
it still is. Yes,
Yeah, it still is, and they have the bar is higher, so that was a great experience. for
Yes,
you.
it is. Yes.
So let's talk about, so you're fast forward, you're in restaurants, you've traveled the West Coast, the East Coast, you're learning, you're picking up tips everywhere you go. When did you start? So my first meeting with you or getting to know this guy Mo is when you started doing catering.
Yes.
And I do believe you started out calling it Mo's California Cuisine?
Well, I was always attached to California cuisine at the time. It was like very innovative and
Okay.
very fresh, and they use the fresh ingredients from California and
Sure.
all that, and it's a very colorful cuisine.
Uh-huh.
So I decided to do something similar,
So it's called Mo's
Cafe California.
Cafe California.
Yes,
So originally you were in Hunterdon County
correct,
and you were in Lebanon, New Jersey.
correct.
But it wasn't, was it a cafe that was open for lunch? Because I know you did a lot of
Yeah,
catering.
it was like a showroom.
Okay.
We flex our muscles at the cafe, and then we also did a lot of off the premises catering,
Sure.
and that was, you know.
Well, that's actually how we first met at a
yes.
wonderful house party.
Yes.
And people were saying, "Who's the caterer? Who's the caterer?" And you had stopped in at the end, and the food was so above the bar here.
The catering was the thing back then. Obviously, it diminished after the recession and all
Sure.
that. However, that was a huge thing back then, you know, and we were very successful caterers. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Do you find off-site catering harder than being in the restaurant, or easier than being in a restaurant?
It's actually a lot easier.
Really? I thought you were going to say harder because
No.
the physical labor of moving that food, keeping the trays, everything level, hot, you know, and the physical having to set up and break down. Yeah,
It's a
tell me
planned
why.
event.
Okay.
The restaurant is not a planned event.
Oh, because it's like a live show, right? It's like a
Correct,
oh, I
yeah.
didn't think of it that
I
way.
mean, if you have like 40, 50 people walk in the restaurant without 40 minutes, 45 minutes,
and you got to
you,
run, huh?
you have to be alert and you have to be precise and you have to,
You know, I never
you know,
thought of it that way.
prep everything. You do not know what they're gonna order, you know, especially if you have an extensive menu like ours.
Right.
A catering job, you know that you have 3 hors d'oeuvres and
It's
2
all
or 3
set,
main
right? You can do your
courses and
buying.
3, 4 desserts. All you have to do is just
Carry it out.
pre-prep, plan everything, transfer it from point A to point B,
Mhm.
set it up, and then serve it.
Break it down.
So it's basically a planned event. The restaurant is a lot tougher than
I guess it is when you think about it.
Yes.
So let's talk about your transition from the cafe and the catering to then you went more to a fine dining in that same space in Lebanon. And that's where I came into your restaurant. It was such a neat experience. Mo had these really, tables were all different. It was really eclectic. It was kind of something that really, now you see more eclectic, but then you were a little ahead of your time because you didn't see eclectic. And he had these really big dishes. And the dishes were kind of like, not half moons, but it was like a part of the dish that's closest to you is out of the dish, and then you have this big dish around it. Tell me about the dishes, because that was really cool.
Well,
I'm not
you know,
articulating it properly.
I mean, I don't believe that chefs out there put a lot of emphasis on presentation. They are just ignoring the most part of that the eye eats first.
No, your presentation is visually stunning.
Yeah,
We're going to
and
pull up some images soon. I don't want to run out of time. We'll talk
Yes,
about some of your
But
things.
we use 14-inch round plates, which is huge. So you can pretty much flex your muscles and play with the spaces and start to put, you know, when I go to a restaurant sometimes and the chef puts a main course and it's kind of like a child, the meat does not, or the
They don't
peas,
touch?
the
Yeah,
peas and the
they don't
carrots
touch.
don't touch, you know.
Right.
So we don't like that. We like just everything to be like specific and distinct, you know. So
Right.
you can see your meat, you can see your vegetable, you can see your potatoes, or you can see whatever starch we put,
Right.
you know. And that to me gives the plate presence, gives a
Sure.
gravity, gives the chef is putting emphasis and he's taking his time to work personally on your plate, you know.
Right. No,
And
it's true.
yeah.
So you had that wonderful dining experience there in Lebanon, and then you had an opportunity, a new opportunity came up to go a little bit further north, bigger space,
Yes.
right? Working in a hotel,
Yes.
within a hotel, your own restaurant, but within a hotel.
Yes.
Which I'm sure would have its own challenges because you're creating your identity within another vehicle. So I would think that
Yes.
has some of its challenges.
It was basically jumping on a moving train, you know, and but we had a vision of what we want. So basically, I treated the place as a new location,
Sure.
not as of where I am, you know. So that was very important to me, that I had a vision of what I want the restaurant to be.
Sure.
And I deleted certain things in my mind to overcome that we are in the Best Western. However, it's received very good right now, and of course thanks to you for helping us with the new decoration and the colors and the image that we wanted, you know, which really made a big difference. Everyone right now that comes to the restaurant, the comments are definitely coming back as, we cannot believe that you are in here versus next to the Best Western, you know, which is
Wow.
very, very important to us.
That's
Yes.
nice. And I think the whole experience now with the new decor and the unbelievable food and the presentation is just part of the package of being at Moe's Bistro and Piano Bar. Can we pull up some of the images, maybe one or two of the images? Okay, so let's take a look. I'll look this way, you guys look that way at the image. So one of the things that we opted to do, so initially the restaurant, when you first went in, you created a concept of warm colors, of food colors. So if I could describe it, and Lisa, I want to have you pitch in on this because you're very much involved in the decor of the restaurant and bringing in a lot of, I would say it was a collaborative effort
Yes.
between the three of us of putting this together and creating something that still retained Moe's image, but a sort of updated version
Right,
of that.
exactly.
So this shot happens to be, there's a sort of a well area with the bar. Originally we had a lot of color in the restaurant and it was lovely, but it was time for a little bit of a change. So we tried to do is create a silhouette that was a little sleeker, a little less accessories, and stick with sort of a palette of gray, black, and white, but do it very elegantly. And these are seasonal cherry blossoms that we have in the windows, and they create sort of, when the light hits it, they create a beautiful silhouette, don't
Yes, they do. I
So
love them.
in the bar area, they're just quite lovely. Why don't we go to the next shot and see what else is there? There's the bar. Now here's a story, right? If there's a story of a lovely lady, here's a story about the bar. Now, if you look at the detail of the bar, one of the things you're going to notice is that bar has character. That bar is not, it's a bar that we just put together, but that bar has a story behind it. And I think I should let Mo and Lisa probably talk about that. I found a resource for them. We wanted to create something that was, you know, new, but we wanted to create something that also at the same time had a history and character. And when I was sourcing materials for bars, I wasn't getting wonderful exotic woods. I wasn't getting things that were interesting. So I found a resource for Mo and Lisa to take a ride out to take a look out in Western Pennsylvania. And they found this lovely solid walnut bar. So I'll let you just speak about the history of your bar, now that you're Moe's Bar and
you can
Bistro.
talk about it.
No fighting now, guys.
No, the bar was basically, it's one of those things that it's either makes sense or it doesn't, you know.
Sure.
You kind of like fall in love with it, or you. So we're, thanks to you, we went to a place 2 hours away in Pennsylvania, and we went over there, and as soon as I saw it, basically I knew that I had a perfect fit. I'm an old school, so I like the old wooden bars, and I like that rustic look. So
Well, you were from the top. You had
yeah,
a vision.
from the
You
get,
wanted
I wanted
wood top.
wood top,
Yeah.
and even though there was some other emphasis about why not have it modern and have it this and have it that, so I
Right.
decided to go with my gut feeling, and I like the old look, and it's an antique from early 1800 built. The bar back is in the early 2200, or I'm sorry, in the early 1922.
Yeah.
Built in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The bar itself was early 1800, but back then they did not have like sit-down bars like with the stools you can see.
Sure.
They had walk-up bars.
Right, so you butt up to the bar.
Yes,
So there
you
wasn't
can-
an overhang
Correct.
as you do now to accommodate
So
stools.
you would see them in the old Western movies when they stand up, go up to the bar, and they are standing against the bar instead of sitting down, you know.
Right,
And so we decided to pull the bar forward 8 inches, the top,
sure.
and so we can have an overlap so people can sit down comfortably. And it's amazing the pride and the dignity they took early.
The craftsmanship,
The
right?
craftsmanship is incredible. Everything is handcrafted, and it's just incredible.
And
Yes.
let's see if we can get another shot where see how the bar coexists. See, one of the things that we had done in the restaurant is that Mo had an artist friend, I believe, also, who painted these beautiful images of vegetables and garlic and things and eggplant. And I felt at the time, because the color was competing, you didn't see the beauty of the color. So one of the
Correct,
things,
yes.
if you're going to take on the industrial look, it could be too cold by itself. So you have to have a culmination of things that are cool and industrial with things that are warm. And I think those beautiful pictures really pop, as you can see in this picture in the restaurant. So you sort of see that this is a melange. You have sort of a modern aesthetic mixed with this beautiful wood that had a history, and then beautiful artwork as a pop. Let's go to the next one. I think we have 5 images. And there's the banquette situation, which is kind of fun. I don't know about you guys, but I really love the intimacy of a banquette. So
I
what
do.
this actually is the back of the bar back. So when we first put it together, it was very uneventful because the bar back was not finished. So what we did is we came up with a paint that looked like the stain, and we painted it out, and then I sourced a beautiful white birch mirror, and then we created a banquette there. And what I think that did is they created a sense of privacy from the other side where the beautiful bar is. It was a little bit of buffer for sound, but also you're on a first date, you're so on. It created sort of a more intimate space, I think, in the
Correct,
restaurant.
yes.
And I do see a lot of people consistently sitting in those
They
tables.
like it. They like
Yeah.
sitting there.
Now,
It's very comfortable.
I don't ever want to be sexist or judge. I do find a lot of women tell me they like being on if they're sitting on a two-top, they like to be on the banquette side of
Yes,
that.
I agree.
What do you think that is?
I don't know. I feel more comfortable on that.
Is you
I
feel
more
safer?
yeah, I feel more comfortable being on a banquette than on a chair.
Sure. And I think we have one final image, I think. Okay, and that is, we have a lovely 17 or 18 seat. How many seats do we have there? I'm doing it with the bar.
But 16.
16 seats, and then we have an area behind the bar for more of a lounge feel. So there are
Right.
high top tables, and that's just one of the corners of high top where you can sit if you're with a group of people and you don't want to face each other. You want to face each other, and you don't necessarily want to be flush with the bar. Another way to dine in the space. Let me ask you, Mo, since the bar opened, do you find that a lot of people are coming in and having their dinner physically at the bar because it's a hotel, and a lot of people, I would imagine, travel by themselves?
Well, absolutely. I mean, single travelers, they feel more comfortable at the bar.
See, I can totally understand
by
that.
itself. Like, you know,
Right.
they just come in and have a cocktail or a beer or whatever,
Sure.
and then immediately they order some food, and they get attracted to the sports events and so on and so forth. But there's also a lot of couples that feel some odd reason a bar is more comfortable for them than a table. And we get a lot of couples that just like, I know myself, when we go out, we always look for the bar. So I think it's and the bar is inviting because it's extremely rustic, extremely dark wood, and it's fantastic to see that. So the bar definitely is a point of attraction. Yes.
Sure. My mother-in-law passed away last year at 97. And even in her 90s, we would go into a restaurant. She goes, I don't want to sit at a table. Let's go to the bar. A bar is a scene, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
And I think somebody like yourself that's very gregarious, I bet you see, you've been a restaurateur, so you see behavior. Do you see different behavior at a bar because it's more interactive?
Well, I think
Do you know
it's
what I
just
mean?
if you sit at the bar, naturally you're more relaxed.
Okay.
You know that you're for some odd reason the setting is more soothing or more relaxed. You know,
It's
you will
fun.
not be kind of like tied with the rules of the dining room. A bar customer is always a little bit looser, a little bit rowdier. You know, and so that's the approach. You know, when you go to a bar, you kind of like, you're looser. You know. Dining room, you may worry about the people next to you.
So you're a little bit
or-
more
or
cautious.
You're a bit more reserved. You know?
Sure.
Yes.
We only have about 3.5 minutes left, so I want to cover the most important thing at the end, which is, ta-da, the food. Tell me about the John Dory fish. What is a John Dory fish?
The John Dory fish is a cold water fish. It does not swim it always swims in the Arctic or the
Okay.
cold waters, and it does not swim further down into the when the water temperature gets warmer. It does not like warm water,
Sure.
and it's a fish that we use at the restaurant, and we're the only restaurant in the area that uses it. And
Great fish, different,
I
right?
was very hesitant when I first put the menu together that people do not know what John Dory is. It doesn't even sound like a fish. It
No.
sounds like a
Like a
person.
historian, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So I just went again with my gut instinct and I put it on, and it's
Amazing.
basically making us famous because people love it. It's
Come up for the John
it's-
Dory. It's good.
it's come up for the John Dory.
I got a little
yeah.
bit less than 2 minutes, and I want to get so much in. Let's talk about eggplant. Your use of eggplant, the eggplant tower. I'm going to be in big trouble for that. Keep talking. Good.
As an eggplant.
No, the eggplant is basically a very Mediterranean,
Yum.
and
Yeah.
it's we basically grill it, and then after that we soak it in water. So that's a lot of people don't know how to deal with eggplant, or they don't like it, or
You guys
they
know how
say.
to do it.
And
he
when you
does.
soak it in warm water, it basically tenderizes it and takes the acid and the oil out, so it does not become greasy, or it just becomes extremely delicious,
And then finally, let's talk about the kebabs, because your presentation is gorgeous. We only have about a minute, 30 seconds left. Talk about the kebabs.
It's strictly Mediterranean. We put them on a skewer. We put all the vegetables on them. We grill them.
Gorgeous.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then they come in on a tool that's basically hanging, and they look spectacular.
Yeah.
When we sell one, we usually sell about 10 or 15 a night because
I see
everybody is envious and they want to know what it is.
I've been there many times when we're doing projects and so on. I watch what happens. They come out, and you know what people do? They take their camera out. They take a picture of your
That's
food.
the first thing
Yeah.
that people
Yeah,
does.
I
I
go,
mean, the
exactly.
cameras are always coming out as soon as the kebab comes out.
The
Yeah.
presentation.
You
is
definitely
But
have
also
to see
your,
the
your
cam.
seafood towers, your eggplant towers, the presentation is gorgeous. And you don't
Yes.
see that much anymore.
No.
I want to, with the remaining time, I want to just give the information of where the restaurant is. It's conveniently located. It's near Newark Airport, many highways. Again, where is Moe's Bistro located?
Moe's Bistro is located in the Best Western Plus Mary Hill Hotel at
Mhm.
535 Central Avenue in New
Mhm.
Providence, New Jersey.
And your phone number again?
908-840-4540.
And your website?
Moe'sBistroandBar.com.
Wonderful. And they can go online and they can see the menus are there.
Yes, in
and
fact,
so
we
on.
just had some recent photos done, and we're going to have those put online hopefully within the next week, or the new design of the restaurant.
And you're doing Father's Day, I understand?
Yes, we are going to be open for
A la
Father's
carte.
Day, yes.
Yeah. I have to tell you, it's a Mediterranean restaurant, folks, but the steak is to die for. I thank you. Check it out. I thank you for tuning in to our program, and we'll see you soon. Thanks. Goodbye.